So pulling to close guard on these are fine, okay? It's not wrong. But the problem with pulling to close guard is just like any choke. You know, your failure rate's going to be, what would you think on a choke, roughly? 40%,
Probably.
50%,
Yeah,
you're going to
like
finish it, right? So I want to have a really good follow-up, right? If I pull guard to close guard on this, a lot of times I can get guys to tap before I even get my feet closed. It is tighter that way, right? So I'll give you an example. If I do this move, right, and I literally just like hang my weight, right? I don't even have my feet connected yet. So you can imagine how awful that is when I jump all the way to close guard. It's terrible, okay? Problem is, if I jump close guard on this and his head does pop out, we're not in the greatest position in the world. Close guard is 50-50 at best, probably actually closer to like 70-40 in my opinion for him. I don't have a ton of options from close, especially depending upon your body type, right? However, if I pull this sort of 3/4 guard with the knee, the shin across the side, right? And he does the one thing he can do to defend, which is bail out. He sweeps himself, and my follow-up is very, very easy. I can just come up and get on top. There's a potential follow-up neck crank there as well. But that's the idea for pulling that sort of 3/4 guard position, is that means that I'm able to get on top of him if something goes wrong. Does that make sense? Okay. So I don't really advise pulling closed on this guillotine unless one of two things. You're super long, right? And closed guard's a good position for you. It's not for me. I'm short, right? And squabby. So it's not a good position for me at all. If it's not a good position for me, I wouldn't advise pulling closed guard on a guillotine. Unless we're starting on our feet in like a competitive setting. Right? Which I'm not going to do because I don't want to like Jake the Snake DDT and bash his brains out, right? But in real life, if he was to have shot a shot and I was to have got here and jumped close guard on him, right? That's obviously going to be awful for him, right? That's an exception, okay? That's an exception when you would go to close guard, okay? But if you're on your knees, right? I think there's a reasonable debate there that maybe going to close guard may not be as good as going to that 3/4 position. You're just more mobile in that position, right? So the next thing we'll look at is a setup for this. So what we're basically going to do is we're going to bait the guy to wrestle up from the bottom of side mount. Okay, it's a really good place to set this up. So I am side mount on you. You can go whatever direction you want to go. You're on your back. Okay. Let's go. I lied to you. I want you to go this way. So I'm in side control. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let him have the underhook. Because that's my overhook on the arm when he comes up. Okay, if we want to do an arm in, and in this case we do, I need to let him have the underhook if this is my plan. Now, if I start hooking now it's going to be a lot more work. Now he knows something's coming. Now he knows I'm after his head. So my goal here is to not touch his head until we're actually ready to attack the choke. The most important part of guillotines, the finishing mechanics are great, right? It is important. But guillotines are going to fail almost more than any other choke if your setup is easy to sniff out, because he can get his hands inside the choke and defend it, especially if he's got a tough neck. Okay? I would like to put the choke on before his hands even come in to defend. If I can get the choke wrapped before your hands touch your neck or my arm, you're probably done. That's the goal. Right? So I let him have the underhook, and now what I'll do is I'll give some pressure, and when I feel like this guy wants out of here, he wants to escape, I'm going to walk a little bit 45 towards his head, and now I'm just going to back off, and I use this arm to sort of suggest that he comes with me. Right? Now he starts wrestling up to his knees. He starts coming up. Right? Keep going. Come all the way up. And that's when I want his neck. Right? When his arms are on the floor. Okay? So here, I wrap over, everything's the same, right? I sit in, come up, come up, come up. There's my choke. Okay? So if we do that at like 50% speed, so let's go back. It'll look something like this. You're on your back again. I got you. I let him have the underhook, and I just sort of back off and let him come up. He comes up. There's my choke. Happens very quick, right? Happens very, very quick. Another thing you can do, last little thing, just in case you do get here, and this hand starts defending. What I like, yeah, go ahead, grab my wrist. That's perfect. So what I want to do is, I want him to make a choice, right? This is like the money or your life dilemma, okay? You'd much rather give up your money than your life. Well, in this situation, you would much rather put your hands on the floor than lose your front teeth, okay? So the way we do that is we back off and we hit a snap down like we're going to bash his face off the floor. Now, listen, we like each other in class, okay? So we're not actually going to bounce each other's faces off the floor.
Thank you.
Right? Okay. Unless we're in like a competitive setting in a tournament, that's different, right? Or we're in a fight or whatever, that's different, okay? But in here, we're not going to bounce each other's heads off the floor, all right? But we can threaten, right? We can threaten. So I back off, and I'm going to shuck him, kind of like I'm doing a snap down in wrestling. And what I want is this, right? That's the reaction I'm trying to get at it. Because remember, in real life here, if he doesn't, I'm going to paint the floor with his face, right? So he doesn't have a whole lot of choice. I start doing this. Yeah, his hands go. Now we can work our choke. So I slide in, turning his chin towards me. Leg goes over the back. And we finish the choke. Make sense? Okay? So if those hands come in to defend, don't think about like you're trying to bring his face straight down. I want you to think about like you're trying to pull him, like you're trying to put his face on the floor and paintbrush it. That gives him more time to think about it. If it's going straight down, he's a little bit less prone. But if you feel like you're going to fall if you feel like you're going to fall that way, the hands will come to the floor faster. Does that make sense? So I want to drag him forward and down, not straight down. That'll get his hands to the mat. And then you can finish the choke. And if it doesn't, right, you probably knocked him out on the floor. Okay? And you still won the match. So we'll take it either way, right? Make sense? It's Jared's Jiu-Jitsu or DDT extravaganza seminar today, I guess. All right?
I love it.
All right, let's give it a shot.